In the early 1970s, hitchhiking was normal. Teenagers used it to get to school, to the mall, to a friend's house. Parents warned their kids, but not enough to stop them. Then, in Northern California, young women began disappearing. By the time the bodies were found, it was winter, cold, quiet, forgotten, and the killer was never caught. This is the story of the Santa Rosa hitchhiker murders. In the early 1970s, Santa Rosa, California was considered safe, a growing city north of San Francisco, surrounded by open land, vineyards, and long, quiet roads. Hitchhiking wasn't seen as reckless. It was routine. But between 1972 and 1973, at least 7 young women vanished. Most were teenagers. Most were hitchhiking. Most were later found murdered in remote rural areas. Investigators believe the real number may be higher. Some investigators believe the killer may have started earlier and younger than officially recorded. Missing persons reports from the area were poorly documented, and several early disappearances were never fully investigated. This pattern of neglect would haunt the case for years. One of the earliest confirmed victims was a 15-year-old girl, last seen hitchhiking. Her body was found weeks later, dumped in a rural creek bed outside Santa Rosa. She had been sexually assaulted and strangled. There were no witnesses, no usable fingerprints, no suspects. As more bodies were discovered, a chilling pattern became clear. The victims were young females, mostly teenagers. Most were hitchhiking. Their bodies were dumped in isolated areas. The cause of death was usually strangulation. Many showed signs of sexual assault. Some were left posed or partially clothed. This wasn't random violence. This was someone hunting. By winter, fear spread quietly through Santa Rosa. There were no social media warnings, no emergency alerts, only rumors. Parents warned their daughters not to hitchhike, but many still did. Some had no other way to get home. During this period, multiple victims disappeared within weeks of each other. The killings appeared to slow during the Christmas season, but investigators believe the killer never stopped. Some theorize he was watching, waiting, blending into family gatherings while planning his next move. In 1974, after the murders had stopped, a letter arrived at a newspaper. The writer claimed responsibility and signed it as the Zodiac Killer. The letter referenced victims connected to the Santa Rosa hitchhiker murders. But investigators were divided. Was it really the Zodiac? Or someone seeking attention by attaching themselves to a notorious name? No solid evidence ever linked the Zodiac to the case, but the possibility still lingers. Suspects who went nowhere. Over the years, investigators chased multiple leads. Local violent offenders, but none could be conclusively tied. Known serial killers active in California, but timelines and evidence didn't match. Truck drivers and transient workers common in an area filled with rural highways. Despite years of investigation, no arrests were ever made. One of the greatest tragedies of this case was how poorly it was handled. Crime scenes were contaminated. Evidence was lost or destroyed. Autopsies were incomplete. Victims were sometimes misidentified. And DNA technology didn't yet exist. By the time forensic science advanced, most physical evidence was gone. The killer had vanished into history. Why this case was forgotten? Unlike other serial killer cases, there was no arrest, no trial, no confession, no name. Many victims were young, poor, or labeled as runaways. Their stories didn't fit the headlines, and slowly, the case faded from public memory. Some believe the killer was a local predator, someone who knew the back roads and dumping sites. Others think he was a traveling killer, passing through Santa Rosa before moving on. And some believe it was a Zodiac copycat or an extension of the Zodiac himself. None of these theories have ever been proven. What matters most are the girls who never made it home. They were daughters, sisters, friends. They trusted a stranger because society told them it was safe, and they paid with their lives. The Santa Rosa hitchhiker murders remain unsolved. No justice, no closure, no answers, just quiet California roads, and a killer who was never named. If you were hitchhiking in Santa Rosa in 1972, you may have survived simply because the killer didn't choose you. And that's the most terrifying part. If stories like this matter, if remembering the forgotten victims matters, subscribe for more in-depth true crime documentaries. Leave a comment with your theory. Do you believe this was a local predator, a traveler, or something darker? And if you found this story unsettling, share it, because the only thing more dangerous than a killer is a story that's forgotten.